You're listening to your community-owned station, KEDT and KVRT. I'm Spencer Cihak. Every Monday this summer, NPR Short Wave will be taking a look deeper and deeper into the ocean with their series Sea Camp. So far, the series has explored why ocean currents are shifting and what sea life calls the Great Pacific Garbage Patch home. Excited to be joined by Shortwave hosts Regina Barber and Emily Kwong. Thank you both so much for the time today.
Hi, Spencer, and everyone listening. We're really glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Great summer series starting already. Just a couple of great episodes. Just between those two, what's really stood out the most to both of you?
I think the Gina and I both grew up on the coast, and we know all you listening are right by the Gulf. And though that's not the ocean, it's a very mighty body of water. And when you grow up next to a body of water like that, you can feel a lot of emotions about it. You can feel in awe, you can feel afraid of it. It can be a place of family vacations and seafood, or it can be a place of mystery. But the thing that we wanted to really do with this series is underscore just how important the oceans are for keeping us alive. The oceans are where half of all the oxygen on Earth comes from. It comes from these little plants called phytoplankton. The oceans are sequestering a ton of carbon. If it weren't for our ocean, climate change would have cooked us a long time ago, is what my colleague Hannah Chin likes to say. And how to live with awareness of the ocean and respect for the ocean is kind of what we were about with this series, while making it super fun and bringing in memories of, Little Mermaid, Finding Nemo, whatever your entry point to the sea life of the ocean is. It's going to be like that. It's a podcast that will get you to meet a bunch of cool creatures and see some stuff on the ocean floor too.
Yeah, I think out of those two episodes, that was the most interesting for me. We've talked about this a lot with other interviews, but the sea currents are changing, but they were actually these currents that actually help ships. They help, transportation of goods that we get even today. They were mapped by Benjamin Franklin, like really accurately. And then you compare him to like the currents now, and his maps are really great because he had a cousin who was a whaler, and like his cousin got to England way faster than other ships could. And I just thought that was really fascinating that like the ocean is really mysterious and vast, but like a lot of people did understand parts of it way earlier than we think. Like I just love history like that. We're like, oh, we're so smart right now, but like people were smart back then too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that the first episode, the Benjamin Franklin of it all, really shocked me. I was not expecting when listening that he would come up of all people. That was
He
a
comes
big
up
surprise.
everywhere. He does
Sure.
everything.
He did
That
so
guy.
much.
He did everything but be president.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that second episode about the sea trash, a really interesting point that I found from that episode was about how it adds complexity that the sea life that's being discussed has found ways of living in it, making it a little more complicated for it to be cleaned up, which I thought was a really unique
Yeah.
point that I've yet to really hear discussed in any other form so far.
Yeah, that's what's cool about a show like Shortwave is because, yes, we are a science show, but we're trying to make the science really accessible. And when I saw pictures of garbage patches, so for those of you who don't know, a lot of the waste, fishing lines, plastic, whatever ends up in the oceans, tends to get concentrated around five different gyres. And so that's where you have almost like a state size, like a Texas size amount of garbage in the Pacific. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch being one of the most famous. Now, there's this idea that you should just, well, we obviously should just go and clean that all up. But there are so many organisms, as you're saying, Spencer, that have actually adapted to live there that it would be more disruptive to the ocean to disturb them at this point. And worse for climate change because you have to burn a ton of fossil fuels via shipping and boat, transport to get that garbage back to land. So the better use of our resources is to prevent plastic from going into the ocean in the first place and kind of live with the garbage patch that we've made. Now, that's one idea from a scientist, and that's, you could debate that, but that's why science is powerful. It allows us to look before we leap. Like, let's do some research and decide, is this a good idea or not, before we're just like, oh, well, we should clean it up because we feel better that way. Well, actually, there's a lot of organisms who've adapted to live there, and maybe we should leave them alone.
Well, you also have to dispose of the material if you grab it. So it's not like it's not
Right.
just the fuel to go out there. It's like, what are you going to do once you actually have it too? So it's much more complicated than people think.
Yeah. So this is about actually reducing the waste that we create in the first place. So don't dump your plastic in rivers. Don't dump it in the Gulf. Keep water clean as best you can and live with the consequences of what we've already dumped.
Now, Emily, you bring up a really great point and something that I've really appreciated about Shortwave, both with the Sea Camp series and every weekday when new episodes drop, is the accessibility of it all. When working on this series for both of you, what was kind of the goal with the accessibility? I know we're going to go deeper into the ocean as the series continues. Just when looking at making sure people that maybe don't have a science background understand the science. How is that approached, and what's kind of your favorite part about that process?
I have a background in astrophysics, so I really like space and stuff. So I actually reported on an episode that I started thinking about through space. So the moons of Jupiter are really, really cool. One of them is called Europa. It's a water world. It's covered in ice, and underneath that ice, astronomers think that there's just a sea, like an ocean. And at the bottom of that ocean are parts of the ground of parts of deep ocean. In our ocean, there are things called hydrothermal vents, which are these like little chimneys, these little heat spots in our ocean, and they are like these oases in where it's dark and cold, and they can house life. Now, scientists maybe think that could happen on a moon of Jupiter. So I was obsessed with that as a kid. I was a like 16-year-old, like thinking there could be these like space shrimp, on a moon of Jupiter. And so I did reporting on
I love that.
did life start, in our oceans at these little heat chimneys in our oceans? Because if that's true, then maybe life could have started, or maybe there is life on the moon, Europa. We don't know. So I think even if you're not a big ocean person, there are things about the ocean that can relate to so many other fields. And astronomy for me is how I kind of got into it.
Yeah, we're very curious. The shortwave is made by a bunch of nerds. Like, and I mean, I've had listeners be like, "Don't call us that. We're offended." But I actually see nerd as the highest compliment available. Nerd means you are, um, whatever you care about, you aren't embarrassed by the fact that you care in an unabashed way. It's like an unabashed, unashamed, unmitigated curiosity. And that's kind of the spirit with which we make this show and with which we made this Sea Camp series. Like, who doesn't want to go back to camp for the summer? It shouldn't just be kids, it should also be adults. And you can be able, with our series, you can go further down into the ocean. We also have a newsletter you can sign up for at npr.org/seacamp. Sign up for that, and you'll get games and comics and fun
The
facts.
comics are beautiful.
Comics are so beautiful. And just get to take a kind of a trip off land for a little bit. There's a lot happening up here, so maybe we just need to spend some time thinking about other places.
Well, Emily, Regina, I want to thank you both so much for taking the time. Is there anything coming up, maybe next Monday's episode, that we could let the listeners know about coming up?
Next Monday's episode. Yeah.
Yeah. Next Monday's episode, we talked to an author from the Pacific Northwest, and she really, really loves invertebrates. So these, ocean creatures that maybe people might think are boring, but they actually have superpowers. So we're talking about that.
So exciting. Thank you both so much for the time today. Looking forward to listening to it, and I'm sure our listeners are too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Much love to everyone in the Corpus Christi area, and gratitude to this member station.
It was great getting to chat with Regina and Emily. Go to @YourKEDT to find a link to NPR's Short Wave and give us a follow while you're there.